So Wazen Oil Services is a Libyan construction, maintenance and measurement solutions service company. We operate across Libya. We have a fixed camp in the Syria field, which is south-east of the country. We've got a camp in Jaro, which is south-central, and we also have a camp in southwest in the Sharara field. Those are our main service and maintenance camps. We work with Sensia and Rockwell Automation to provide the latest technologies into the sector. And with that, we also have the opportunity for knowledge transfer and capacity building, and that's been one of our focuses over the past few years in getting our team to the level where they're able to service the sites using partner technology. And I think it's key, and partners are that's the direction of industry leaders as well, to upscale and upskill local content across wherever they operate. And so we've had the privilege to operate with the leaders in those areas to provide those products and services to market. From a service sector perspective, or a service company perspective, I think the introduction to advanced technologies is essential in reducing the carbon footprint. So our executions in itself, so it's twofold. As Wazen Oil Services, we are actively working towards improving our environmental footprint, whether it's through our ISO 45000 certifications, I think 1801, 1401, 9001. There's a number that we've got. But those certifications internally help us work towards improving our carbon footprint, which is only very small. But I think the introduction to the advanced technologies helps reduce the carbon footprint drastically. And so regardless of what operations the local service companies are implementing, they're having a huge impact on Libya's future emissions, because they're introducing the technology that's needed to reduce those emissions, and those technologies are proven to reduce emissions. So I think it's important for local service companies to think positively and importantly about their carbon footprint, but more importantly, it's a duty or almost a responsibility to actively be seeking what new technologies are out there and what do we need to implement in country, because this will harness Libya's position to be in a carbon-friendly oil production country. Perceived risk in itself, it's perceived. Risk is always there though. I mean, risk needs to be managed. And I think looking at the potential that Libya has, whether it's strategic location, whether it's the amount of reserves that we do have, and I think the demographic makeup of the country provides all that's needed for not a risk-free investment, but a calculated investment that has potential of high returns on investment, because we need the technology and we need the knowledge transfer and we need capacity building in country, and we need that dialogue between Libyan companies, the Libyan NOC operating companies and the international oil companies. And I think over the past 4 or 5 years we've seen a drastic move forward in foreign investment. When I say foreign investment, I'm talking about international companies moving into country and trying to develop their operations. And the reason being is they have been pleasantly surprised by the conditions that Libya actually has to offer, as opposed to the news or the media that's out there regarding the situation in the sector. And things have drastically improved. Things have drastically improved over the past 5, 6 years. Things have got much, much better, much more organised. We've seen that you used to get on a plane coming to Libya and you'd have little to none expats on that plane. Now there's little to none Libyans. You know, it's a majority expat plane, which is very positive. And I think we can see it whether it's infrastructure development in the main cities, or whether it's the development or restructuring of the sector or the oil fields. There's been a good positive momentum forward, and we're just happy to be part of that as Wazen Oil Services. I think this summit is essential. I really do, because I think it provides the platform that we need to introduce dialogue between public and private sector. Now, it provides, although it's an economic summit, so everybody's here to look at what commercially is out there in Libya that we can get involved in and invest in. But what ultimately it does is it brings public profiles or public bodies such as the NOC, the ministries, into one conference room. It brings IOCs, the international oil operating companies, or the international companies in general, into the same conference room, and it brings the private sector, service companies such as ourselves, into the same room. And then it provides a platform for dialogue regarding the sector's development. And that's essential, because most of our dialogue outside of this conference room is usually about commercial terms, or we have a stake at hold. So we're not talking about Libya per se, we're talking about our contract or our conditions, or there's a clause there, whereas this removes us from that, and then we can have an honest conversation about, right, we do have a gap in skills development, and we've got a gap in our work skills in the sector. We need to close it, we need to address it, and we need to find the right path forward. But there's multiple stakeholders in that same sector. As a private service company, I'm a stakeholder in the oil sector. The NOC, as the public body managing it, is a stakeholder in that sector. And the IOCs are stakeholders within that same sector. So we need to all talk about what do we need in terms of workforce developments over the next 5 years, and a reality check around incentives for the local companies or international companies or whoever for workforce development. There needs to be incentives. We need to be we actively work on it, and we're lucky enough to have strong and good partners that are into knowledge transfer. But we need to have a more strategic talk around that, and I think this summit provides a perfect platform for that, and it also allows private sector companies to engage with themselves. And that's something else that's missing within Libya, where there's dialogue, open dialogue, away from everything else between service company and service company. It's a very important dialogue to have. We're stakeholders in the same place, and we're not only competitors. We can complement each other. But regardless of whether we complement or compete with each other, we need to have dialogue, we need to speak. And so these platforms introduce us to that. And I think, and it's in Libya. And that's the most important. I attend most of the conferences, regardless in Libya or outside of Libya. And the biggest difference is everybody in that room has a vested interest in Libya because he's in Libya, or she's in Libya, or they're in Libya. They're here. Whereas when you go to Austria, or you're in London or Aberdeen, we're going to that conference because it's about Libya, and we're maybe interested in Libya, but maybe not. But I want to go to Aberdeen, or I'm in London anyway, so it makes a huge difference. And I think, we've got a responsibility to make this work every year. And that's our approach, and it's been our approach since the start of this Economic Summit. And I think it does a great job.